Hello, my pretty little fillies. Roz and Neko here, and welcome to Roz and Raves, where I talk about things that I'm just going to be raving about. And today, it's going to be about Inside Out 2. Now, it's been out for a little bit, and I honestly could not just get over just how great it was. You know, the first movie honestly didn't impress me, but the second movie, I just could get more of. And that age group is not one of my favorites. But from a counseling perspective, I honestly enjoyed it quite a bit more. One of the first things I'll touch on is when friends are hiding something. One of the first bits of the movie is when Discuss was like, hey, do you see how she's looking at us? I don't miss a look. Both Discuss from each perspective of characters were having a specific look. We can all relate to that. When we feel like we see a specific look a person's giving us, that means something. And they were each hiding something. Her friends ended up going to a different school, but they were going to still spend time with her. And what Riley ended up kind of wanting to do, if anyone had noticed from Anger's perspective, was why not push them away already? She was going to end up going to that high school anyway. And that's something that we kind of do. What some of us do is we try to push away people before they have the opportunity to hurt us, and we want to get away from them in a sense. So sometimes we push people away before they have a chance to hurt us, like, well, I'm gonna dump them before they even have a chance to dump me. And this can kind of come in many forms. Throughout the movie, she ignored them. She said, oh yeah, no, I wasn't into that band. She didn't necessarily talk bad about them, but that was something that she could have done. We talk bad about people, we say things we didn't mean, we could do a bunch of things, we hurt other people, we say a bunch of stuff, we push them away, we say mean things, we hurt them before they have a chance to hurt us. Or we assume things like, no, you didn't want to hang out with me, but in reality, we stopped hanging out with them before they had a chance to stop hanging out with us. We push people away before they have a chance to push us away. That is one thing that some people emotionally do. Now, another thing to push on that kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit is when her and her friends were in the locker room, they were laughing and taking pictures, and all the kids' phones got confiscated because the coach was upset. I felt a little bit bothered by that because the coach was very harsh on them, saying, oh, you think it's funny? Well, now you're all gonna run 20 laps or whatever the case was. I was kind of bothered by that because, come on, she's fresh out of middle school going into high school. Yeah, I get it, it's tough love, but they're barely learning how strict rules are gonna get. But honestly, I also do get it from like a teacher perspective. I tell my kids all the time when we're prepping them from going from one school to another, like, hey, things are gonna get harder, things are gonna get rougher. And I've been in multiple school formats. I've been in early elementary school to the next level of the elementary school part, elementary school to middle school to high school. We keep warning them like, hey, the next school could be rougher, but I still felt a bit bad for them when everyone kind of like socially isolated them or just saying things behind their back. Using social isolation though to just be like, come on though. It hurt. So yeah, using social anxiety and the teacher yelling at them to force them to listen, it hurt to watch that. Yeah, I just felt really bad for them because that is a thing. But yeah, it bothered me. It bothered me quite a little bit. Interesting take. During the movie, Anxiety was trying to make a new core for Riley. And it just now kind of hit me that Anxiety thought that it would be a new kind of like confidence core compared to what Joy was trying to make. Keep in mind that Joy was trying to make one, but it wasn't just all of the happy memories that Joy had made out of. All of the ones that Joy had used were from all of the feelings, all of the memories. They were made out of all of the emotions. Anxiety was just straight up using all of the core memories or just all of the memories in general that were made straight out of Anxiety. And from a counseling perspective, this isn't a cause and effect. This is just a small connection. Anxiety is driven by insecurity. So that's just one of the things. Keep in mind, when you're driving a car, there's many parts to it. It's not just the wheels, it's not just the engine, there's a lot of parts to it. Even when you're riding a bike, there's a lot of things that make it move. But the thing that drives anxiety is insecurity. So when anxiety was surprised that by the time that the new thing that was driving Riley was that Riley wasn't good enough, that was the core thing that Riley was feeling, it came as a surprise to anxiety. I'm now realizing anxiety thought it was going to be like a positive self-esteem. No, Riley was being pushed to do all these things, pushed to pushing herself on the edge, pushed to trying to fit in, pushed to do all of these things because she was insecure, not feeling like herself, possibly other things. On top of that, these are just the two that come to mind right now, but mainly because she was insecure. If she was sure of herself, she wouldn't be doing these things. If she was, she probably would be honest with those girls. She would be talking with her friends. She would be doing different things. If you honestly didn't care on what other people were doing or how people would view you, you would give your honest opinion. You would do what you wanted if you didn't care. But that was just another side thought that I thought I would throw in there. But yeah, anxiety was surprised that Riley wasn't confident in herself. The other topic of the movie is the idea of identity. Now, in the beginning of the movie, her identity was all positive, saying that she's a nice person, she's helpful, she's all of these positives. And at the end of the movie, it had a bunch of not completely negatives, like she's kind, she's a loner, she's insensitive. She had all of these positives, but she also had negatives. And that's good and bad. We have our moments. We are not defined by our temporary feelings. We're all of these things. Yeah, we have our bad times, but we also have our good times. Yeah, there may be one time where, hey, we accidentally hurt someone, but we can fix that. We can have a really good moment, but then we can completely mess up the next moment. That doesn't mean that we can't change it in another moment. Our temporary feelings don't define who we are. It's what we do throughout all of these moments that define us. And that is what I really enjoyed about that movie. And it really surprised me too that that's what the movie did. I'm not sure how that movie's gonna go though, or who the intended audience was, but I thought that was very, very good. Another point that I want to touch on with this movie is imagination, which I thought was very, very well done. This quote that I've seen a lot and hit me was when I was a lot younger. Worry is a misuse of imagination. Not sure who that was quoted from, but I remember it was an image on a fence that was like spray painted on. Worry is a misuse of imagination. If anybody could inform me of who that quote was, would love to actually give credit to that. And that is a very good point. We have imagination. We can use it for anything. Lift up our spirits. Lift up the spirit of the person next to us. Help anybody. Be creative. Do a lot. But worry is not a good use for that. And, that's a thing. Worry is helpful. Like at the end of the movie, anxiety was there to remind us, like, hey, we have a Spanish test. We should prepare for that. But not to imagine how our life's going to end just by one decision, one possibility, because anything can happen. Anything can happen at all. Like, hey, for this is an example for more just like adults, but it's one that stuck by me because of a positivity class that a teacher told me, and it sticks with me. If you were to say lose your job today, and I know that hits hard for people, you could look at it in many different ways. You could say, I'm gonna lose my house and home, I'm gonna lose my friends, what am I gonna do? I'm never gonna get another job again, I'm gonna have to go back, crawl myself out of this hole. Or you could say, I have so many other opportunities now. I can meet new people. I can make new friends. I have all these other possible connections. I can do so much. And I know not everybody has that same possibility. But I'll give you this. Compared to if you were looking through a positive lens and looking for positive things. And I know it's difficult and not everybody has the same opportunities. But how difficult would it be if you had a negative lens and were looking for positive things compared to if you had positive lens and we're looking for positive things? And not everybody can do it. Everything takes practice. Learning how to ride a bike is not done in 2 seconds. So that's why anything can happen. You just never know. Now, The other scene that I was kind of meh with is the panic attack scene. I was worried for anybody watching that if they were going to get a panic attack because that was very realistic. I was also worried because of all the negative memories that were coming in for Riley. And I also just, from a counseling perspective, saw that to be very unrealistic of what would have happened. For someone that was like on the verge of a panic attack, therapy would have been needed. Unless she was taught how to breathe or how to cope with her feelings like that, or if she just really was raised in a positive household, that she was able to overcome things like that by herself. I just found it to be like kind of unrealistic. Especially when you're going through a mental, emotional situation like that, where you're going through an emotional turmoil of losing your friends, having to go through anxiety for the first time, a different emotion, and she hasn't like talked about it with anybody, and she's going through all of these things, all of these worries by herself, and it just hasn't been talked about. But I mean, we're only focusing on the emotions, nothing like talking about it out for anybody, or I mean, yeah. And I guess it's just a movie, so. But yeah, that's just the minor thing. I just found it to be like unrealistic, and a counselor would have needed to be there to discuss these things. But I mean, we're just looking at it from the emotions perspective, so it makes sense why it wasn't really talked about. But I will say it was much better than the first movie. It was more relatable. We got to explore a lot of things on a much deeper level. And even just focusing, like, let's say we're just focusing on Joy alone. It was interesting to see on how difficult it is to be a positive person around negative people. Like the one scene where she's like, where her just saying it's so hard being positive while everyone around her is being negative, and everyone's complaining, like, she's just trying to turn around, making it positive. And she's just like, well, yeah, what do you think? You're all being negative Nancy's. It's hard being positive. I felt that so hard because I've had jobs where I'm like, yeah, no, guys, come on, we can do it. And they're all like, no, what's the point? This job stinks. And I'm like, well, it stinks because of all of your flippin' attitude. It is so hard. I felt that on like so many levels. And then when I'm having a rough day, and then everyone else is like, yeah, today's a good day, and I'm like, really? When I'm trying to be a positive pizzaroni and you guys are being negative Nancy's, I'm annoying. But when you guys are being positive pepperonis, it's fine, but I can't be a negative Nancy. Okay. Just small comments on other things, not counseling perspective. I actually really like Anxiety. I don't know why. Her squeak is adorable. I loved it. She's one of my favorite characters. Don't know why, I just like her. I also love and adore Embarrassment, especially Embarrassment's interactions with Sadness. Really love it. By the way, Sadness has always been my favorite character. Love her sweater. Want it. It looks warm. But yeah, that is my counseling perspective wrap up of Inside Out 2. Completely love it. Completely would recommend it. Don't think I can use it with the actual age groups that I work with, but I always will reference this movie especially. But yeah, would love to know your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you'd like me to review the first movie in a counseling perspective, totally would love to do that. Just let me know. And if you would like to work with me, my email will be down in the description, rozanneko5@gmail.com. But otherwise, I'll see you cool cats next time. Bye bye.